PGA Nation, we are back. Golf madness continues, and there's sadly been a casualty. Spencer is he can stay with us and help us host the show. He is no longer remaining in the tournament. Spence, I know you have to be a little sad, but how are you doing tonight?
I told you off air, if there's, of all the tournaments that were in play, I think that's the one that I would have wanted to play the least. It's really tough to create separation in a 72-man no-cut tournament, specifically when Kenny does the right thing and takes Scotty Scheffler first overall. It just naturally makes it more difficult, in my opinion. And we were talking about it live on air. I thought Millie Goats, AK, did a really good job with his lineup. He built this really clean cash game lineup, and I was running projections as we were going on, and I even tweeted about it, funny enough, when I wrote the article. There was a lineup that ended up being better than the one that I picked, and I was trying to merge both worlds of upside versus safety with my build, and I think I massively miscalculated in a lot of spots. Like, I wish I never went down to Sepp Straka. Alex Fitzpatrick was kind of the name that kept popping up over and over again, and there were iterations of the build that would have advanced me. There were also a lot of iterations anytime I started with Oberg that were going to put me in a negative position. So, look, I mean, it's part of the contest. It's survive in advance. You can have lineups that are going to move on with two people. You can have lineups where Kenny and Millie Goats both cashed with their lineups, with Kenny being a lineup that was a legitimate finisher in a lot of contests. So, it is what it is. It's the nature of the game. I'm telling you right now, though, Joel, I will be back next year, and I will be ready to perform a little bit better than I did this season.
All right. Well, you will get your redemption, but don't short the lead. Tonight, we have a big draft with the John Deere. We're going to TPC Deer Run in Illinois. Listen, there's going to be a lot of birdies this week. It's going to be a little bit more of a JV field. But it's kind of back to what we're used to. We're going to get a cut event, a full field out there. I'm pretty excited for this field. I think it's unique. I think it's going to be a really fun tournament, and it's going to look different than a lot of the more recent tournaments we've seen that's had Scotty Schefflers and Rory McIlroys, right? That's not going to be the case this week, which I think means there's even more of an edge to find. But for tonight's draft, of course, we have the big guns. It's going to be a really competitive draft. We have one person drafting remotely. But to give everyone a quick reminder of what we'll be doing tonight, we're running a bracket style tournament, kind of like March Madness, but it's Golf Madness. We have our first round. The winners, the two top scorers from this round will advance to the Sweet 16. So the two best of us that draft tonight, I will be drafting tonight in this foursome. And we have some legends drafting with us. We'll move on into that next round. We do a snake style draft, so there's 4 drafters. It's like your typical fantasy football draft. You have 1 through 4, then 4 through 1. The big caveat here is you do need to actually afford your lineup. So you can't take all the best players. You need to actually be able to play your lineup in a DraftKings tournament. With that being said, that's really the nuts and bolts of it. Of course, the special drafters joining us tonight of ripping his sig, Kenny Kim. Kenny, how you doing tonight?
What's up, guys? Sorry about the camera. Something happened with my webcam. I have no idea. So I have to do this on my phone, which sort of fucks me since all my information that I have for this is on my phone. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
No worries about that. We can still see your pretty face, so you're good there. I do feel bad. I don't want you to be handicapped. I want you to give your full effort here because I do plan on taking you down in the draft. So I don't want any excuses after about the phone not working. If you need to go peek at it, put it down, more than welcome. We totally understand. TurtleBear, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, guys. Back, snuck my way in through the plan, so happy to be here. Let's see if I can do it again.
We're happy to have you. A great victory, advancing through the play-in. Here you are. Now you just got to get into the top 50% in this 4-man draft to move you through into the next round. We also have Kyle Murr drafting with us. Kyle is remote. So he's not on drafting, but he's listening to the show, and Spencer will be drafting for him based on the picks that he wants. He's going to be able to messaging Spencer with updates of who he is looking for. Spencer, did he give you any notes or updates on how he plans to execute this draft?
See, this is where you're really good, Joel. Like, we play the nice guy routine here, and we'll see, like, is there any strategy? One, I wouldn't give away Kyle's strategy on it. Two, I don't know anything. He has just told, the only thing I know is where he wants to be position wise. So I'll very quickly be able to put that in for him, depending on what pick he gets. Other than that, I don't know who he wants today. You've done a good job. You've ruined Kenny's camera and his computer. So like now we're on there. You've found a way to get Kyle to not show up for the draft. I don't know what, like, this is not very on the up and up. Yeah, this is an interesting strategy, and we'll see if it pays off. But no, I do not know what Kyle is going to be doing. It is, I want to make it 100% clear. These are his picks. These will be his selections when they come in. I have nothing to do with any of this. So there is no blame in any direction that can happen here for me.
Fair enough. Well, we do have a big draft ahead of us. Let's pull up the wheel and determine the draft order for tonight. For me personally, there is a pick that I want, but I'm not going to give that up, obviously. Let's see how the wheel goes. I'll start with you here, Kenny. If it was up to you, what pick would you take?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
This is it's a large field.
Fair enough. Kenny is wide open. Well, wait, did it land on Kenny or did it land on Kyle?
It landed on Kyle.
Okay, Kyle's going to get his wish, and now you got to reveal the secret, Spence. Where's Kyle going?
So Kyle wanted number 4.
All right, Kyle will be going last. That's not where I want to be, so I'm still alive. I'm happy. Let's give it another twirl. How about you, Turtle? Where would you like to go if all went your way?
We'll find out right now. I'm going to take the 3 spot.
Wow, interesting. Nobody wants to be going early here. It's okay. All right. I'm happy with 1 or 2, so this is no problem for me. Go ahead. Kenny, because you've been handicapped, I'll let you just pick which one you want. I don't even care.
First is fine with me.
See, I already got the good guy thing right before it didn't even anyway. But don't let the record show. I still offered it to Kenny, even though he earned it all on his own.
Yeah. Yeah, you've redeemed yourself a little bit after sabotaging the start of the draft.
Wait, Turtle, did you want second or third?
Third.
Yeah, Spence, you got to switch us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, definitely 3. I definitely said that.
I thought I heard third too. That's what I was. All right. Spence, you're going to guide us through the draft here, so there's no accusations toward me of any hindering. But with the first pick, Henny, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I'll just go Ben Griffin up top. I'm just going to take my guy up top. I like the way he's playing here recently. He's been gaining strokes as his approaches here recently. I like his form. Last time we saw him in an event like this where he was a favorite, he won. I'm going to go ahead and take Ben Griffin as my first pick.
Yeah, I think that makes logical sense. That's kind of where my model in a lot of ways is leaning. I mean, we see the popularity with him. I think for a contest like this, that popularity does not matter. So Ben Griffin will be the first name off the board. We will get to you, Joel. There's a lot of different ways that you can play this. I am very interested to see what you wanted to do with you wanting to be in the first and second spot. So where are you going with your pick?
I would have taken Ben Griffin first as well. I like Ben Griffin here. I think he's going to win. I have a pretty, big stake bet on him to win this week. So that's where I would have gone. Obviously, that's not an option any longer. So I'm going to go with, and I know he's going to be popular this week. It's not a GPP, so I can get behind the popularity and it won't kill me. But I'm going to take Jackson. I hope I don't butcher his last name. Koivun. It's his first PGA Tour event. Everyone hates that he's coming off as like one of the favorites and it's basically first official tour event. But everything says he's the next guy. He's the up-and-coming star. He's the best or was the best amateur coming up. And the thing I really like, the narrative that I'm playing this week is the John Deere tends to be a launching pad for a lot of guys. They come out here, they win the John Deere, then they become stars. We've seen it with, I think it was Spieth did it, Scheffler did it. I think Jackson gets it done this week. He can have a great week. And even if he doesn't win, he can certainly get a top 5 in what's a pretty watered down field. So a 9,400. Did I say it right? Is it Koivun? Is that how you pronounce it? Koivu?
I think it's Koivun.
Koivun? Well, we'll learn soon. He's going to be on TV a lot more starting this week. So I'll take Jackson here. And if you look at his advanced numbers, I mean, you don't see it in a lot of tournaments because he hasn't played all of that many, but where he has played, the ball striking metrics have been spectacular. So there's no reason to think he won't also have another good week in a field that, like we said before, this isn't a major event. There's not a lot of the big dogs here. I think his talent is as good, if not better, than a majority of the field this week. So with that being said, Koivu, that's my pick.
So when the pick came in, Joel, I got a message from Kyle, and it says pain with a sideways face. I think that's who Kyle wanted in that spot. The accolades around him are insane. This is one of the best prospects that we have seen, and statistically, you could argue it's the best prospect that we've seen maybe ever. Like if you look at the metrics of him compared to a lot of the guys of recent nature, he's number one. He ended up being the number one player before I hand changed some of the metrics in just because it's such a small sample size, but he was number one without touching it. Ben Griffin was number two. So I think you and Kenny have gotten off to a very straightforward start, and there's a lot of upside to be had there. So Turtle and Kyle are going to have their works cut out. But before we get to your pick, Turtle, I want you to talk about LEVR a little bit. They are obviously the sponsors of this show. We are very excited to have you guys a part of it. Tell everybody out there about LEVR.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate it. Still very much in our infancy. So that's kind of why I'm not pushing it too hard at the moment, or we're not pushing it too hard. So it's pretty much like at the most basic level you can think, it's leverage on sports betting. And when I say leverage, it's like adding multipliers to your line. So it's pretty much like a built-in boost. So quickly, like if you were to take team A, team B, each, let's just, to make it easy, they were both plus 100 odds. You could like 2x that, 3x it, 4x it, or 5x it. So rather than returning 100, you return 500. That's the awesome like reward side of it. And then the risk is when you take that bet, we tell you, hey, if these odds ever hit like plus 200, you instantly lose your bet. So the idea is that you're taking teams that you think are kind of going to coast the entire time. Because there is risk within the game. If you ever hit those live odds, you could just lose your bet entirely. It doesn't matter if the team comes back and wins. But yeah, we're the first book that has it right now. No one else has really figured it out. There's a few other teams that have attempted. So yeah, pretty pumped about it. We just launched a couple months ago. Still very, unfortunately, crypto focused as far as our audience is. But here in the next few months, we will really smooth out the onboarding. So it's like not a crypto product. I don't want it to get that name because we are very much targeting like the everyday sports bettor.
Yeah, I love the way that your guys' site looks. I think it's going to be a big success. And Joel and I are obviously very excited to be partnered with you guys and help push the product however we can on it. For now, though, what do you want to do for your next pick?
Yeah. Great pick there, Joel. I was kind of hoping he'd still be around, but not too worried about it. Feel like there is a ton of value this week, and I'm going to go right after it with Blades Brown. I think he profiles really well here, and I think he's probably going to be pretty popular this week in general. I don't want to leave him on the board for too long. Give myself some savings here early.
Question to both of you, Kenny and Joel. Was Blades Brown on the board?
Yes, for me he is, especially for some of my themed lineups that are like all young guys coming up. Obviously, Blades Brown will fit that mold. At 7,600, I think he's a value. So yeah, he'll be in my player pool.
I only make about five lineups a week, so my player pool's tight. It's usually around 13 to 16 guys that I roster every week, and he's not on that list right now. There's a lot of other guys that I like in that price range, that mid to low 7,000 price range, that I like better than him.
Well, he was on Kyle's list, so it's another direct steal to Kyle, who had his choice, ended up picking the fourth spot there. Like when I talked about it at the beginning part of the show, of this being a tournament that I like better than maybe what we got last week, it's you get a cut, you get a lot of these things, and I think Turtle talked about it at a very nice level. there's a lot of value to be found on this board. And for me, Blades Brown is almost the forgotten youngster in some ways compared to what Jackson Koiven is bringing. I like him a lot. I have him in matchups. I bet him to win this golf tournament. I think that there is something to be said about him. And if you look at the ownership, like he's going to be half of what Koiven probably will be. And not that it necessarily plays as heavily for a contest like this, but it is worth noting that there is going to be some contrarian nature to him. So we will give you Turtle Blades Brown. Kyle is on the clock, and Kyle is going to go with Eric Cole and Jackson Suber. And before we push it back to you, Turtle, any thoughts on the Eric Cole and Jackson Suber pick? Were those names that were on your list that you potentially wanted, or are those not direct steals?
I love Eric Cole way too much. I think we talked about it last time I was on. So not bummed that I won't be getting him, because I'm sure I'll end up with some outrights on him anyways.
Yeah, I don't know what my thoughts are on Cole. It's like we were so close to getting a victory from him. It felt like for the longest time, and maybe that's the market that I like the most of anything, is kind of betting on the upside. Any of the sharp markets seem to like him this week. If Cole was not one of the names that you are able to take now, though, where do you want to go with your next pick?
Oh, stuck kind of between two guys here.
Well, while you're deciding, I will add, I was also hoping to take Jackson Suber. I know he seems pretty popular. I think that's my biggest concern for him this week, is for his talent. He might just end up being too popular. But if it was up to me, I was hoping to build the Jackson 5 in mind and have all the Jacksons just straight down. But I lost that opportunity.
Honestly, like with the way you guys are drafting right now, like maybe I'm somewhat incorrect with my take. Like, sure, I would rather be in this tournament than the one I was in, but I think you guys have made 5 selections, at least for my model, whether it's right or wrong, that are inside of the top 15. Like, this is how much better the DFS space is than what it used to be years ago. You don't see the mistakes. You don't see Jackson Koiven open up at 75-1. You see him open up as one of the favorites. You see him be one of the top owned players on the board. It's data has really pushed us in a direction. And obviously everybody knows I run a lot of data with what I do, but data has pushed us heavily in this direction that there's less mistakes. And the DFS community as a whole, it's a tough industry to win in because of exactly what you 4 have done with the first 5 picks. So I filibustered as much as I could for you, Turtle, to try to give you a chance to make a selection here. Where are you at with the pick?
Yeah, appreciate it. We're going to go with Doug Gim here.
I mean, I could give a million reasons why I like Doug Gim every single week. Joel, Kenny, do either of you have opinions on Doug Gim? Because I am the Doug Gim anti-whisperer. I feel like when I say to play Doug Gim, it always goes in the opposite direction.
Well, quickly, are you on him this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Doug's the first guy that anyone drafted that I wanted. So, yeah, I'm a fan of him this week. I mean, in this type of format that we're doing, I mean, the guy is making like 8 of his last 10 cuts. He's always playing the weekend. His iron game is good. I'm a fan of Doug Gim this week. I bet him this week.
I like Doug Gim. I'm not playing a ton of him for the reason that I just think it's more optimal to build a more stars and scrubs lineup where you go to the top and then kind of build out the roster from there. And it's just hard to get multiples at the top if you play him in the lineup at 8,600. So I don't have much exposure, but I certainly can understand it if you're going with a different route to building from stars and scrubs.
Kyle has chimed in. I love Turtle's start. Guess I should have gone with the 3rd pick. I think the Doug Gim ball striking is just at such a high level. I have him in a matchup this week. I didn't get there on an outright ticket. I very much considered it. I kind of tried to go the safety route with him. But it's almost to me when I looked at the pricing on the board, I think it's kind of to your point, Joel. You see $8,600 and it's such a weird build for what you typically would expect from Doug Gim that I don't think people are going to necessarily get there on him And if that's the case, just even like we can remove this contest from the mix, like large field GPPs, if he's sub 10% owned, I don't know. He feels like one of the better plays on the entire board.
Yeah, ownership is a big factor there. Now I would agree. If you're getting him sub 10, there's certainly upside there. Then I would agree that I would probably like him more knowing that.
All right, Joel. Started with Jackson Koivin, who is going to be the 203 for you.
So I'm going to stick to what I said. My strategy is stars and scrubs. My first choice would have been Ben Griffin. That was taken away from me. I don't think Chris Goddard's too far behind. I think there's plenty of upside with Goddard. So Chris Goddard, he's the highest priced golfer in the field. He's the top 2 or 3 favorite to win. The ball striking numbers are excellent. He's even putting the ball well. I think your only concern, or my only concern with Goddard up here is, if you're really, really strict about you're looking for guys who are fairway finders, obviously that's not him. He's going to bomb it out there. He's going to miss fairways. That's not his game. But obviously we've seen him play other courses and that not make a difference and him, excel. And I really think this watered down field where he's, the creme of the crop talent wise, is going to help him get a much better result. I mean, if you just look back to May, he was top 20 top 10 tournaments. He had a slight hiccup here in June where his best result was T27, but the ball striking hasn't been the issue. I think he gets back on track with a really good result this week.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. High in my model, well ranked, I should say, when it comes to GIR percentage on easy courses. And then any of the off the tee stuff, I'm curious, Joel, I'll ask you this before we move to Kenny's pick. You talked about the spraying it off the tee that we can sometimes get from Chris Goddard. How much do you think that affects him here, if any?
I more look at that as like if there's a guy who's maybe lower that is super accurate off the tee and can find an advantage, who might be lower owned because he's going to be playing out of the fairway all day, I might boost him. But I'm not going to discredit a guy who's going to be one of the longest hitters in the tournament, who's going to have the ball out there. He might miss some fairways, but he's hitting it somewhere. You've seen this happen with Rory all the time, where Rory goes to these tournaments where they say you need to be in the fairway. He's missing fairways, but he's hitting it so far that he's getting an edge for it. I think it's kind of a similar mindset here. I'm not going to discount somebody for kind of spraying it a little bit as much as it's more of something I'm going to benefit a cheaper player if they're able to hit a lot of fairways.
Yeah, and I will add this. Not every single course is exactly the same. It's a mixed off the tee sort of a test where you're sometimes going to take driver, you're sometimes going to take something less. And if you look at Chris Goddard's profile with that, 6th in this field off the tee at easy courses, 6th when you get easy accuracy courses, and inside the top 5 when you do get a high rough penalty. So it's kind of to your point a little bit, Joel, where this might be somebody who does seem to miss fairways, but when you throw them on similar courses, it's a different output for him. Like Cameron Young is somebody else who does that at a kind of high rate too. So I think this is a nice spot for Chris Goddard. I had him inside the top 5 of my model overall. So I think you're off to a hot start there with Goddard and Koivin. But all right, Kenny, you started with Ben Griffin. We're going to need 2 picks from you here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Tom Kim and Denny McCarthy is who I'm going to go with. Tom, again, his iron game's been on point here recently. I'm a fan of his accuracy here. I know it's 70% plus driving accuracy here, but if you miss the fairways, it's trouble. It's about 4-inch rough. You're not really going to see that from him. He's playing better golf. Give me Tom Kim as my next pick. And then I like Denny. I'm not a Denny guy, but he's playing pretty well. The thing I'm thinking about when I'm playing this is I want guys who can make the cut. He's made the cut in 8 of the 10 cut events this year. He's coming off a good finish at the Travelers, and he's played this course extremely well throughout his career. He's one of the best putters on bent grass that you can get. So go ahead and give me Denny as my 3rd pick.
Yeah, and shout out to Kill Kenny last week for the Denny McCarthy pick. I didn't hear very many people. I know Ben Raza tweeted about it that he also liked Denny McCarthy. There wasn't a ton of people on him. Really good selection last week, and you kind of talked about it, Kenny. You see the same profile with Tom Kim and Denny McCarthy, where you have 2 golfers that are trending in a positive direction. Tom Kim specifically inside of the top 5 of my model when it comes to recent production when you weigh it towards this course. So I think that what you are doing of safety is probably the exact correct choice that I did not make last week in a no-cut tournament trying to play for the upside. So getting 6 of 6 through is going to play if you're able to do that. So I like where you have started. Joel, we're back to you now. You have Gotterup, you have Koiven, you have $7,475 left. You've talked about this boom or bust nature that you want to take on. I'm curious how much of a bust we're actually talking about here. Are we speaking of getting into the $6,000 range with a name that we like that we're going to be selecting later, or are we kind of staying in this general range now?
I'm going to the 7K range, the low 7K range. I'm going with a guy who's a course history guy. And I'm going with exactly what I said on my last pick, right? This is a guy who's rising for me because, one, he's played well here in the past. Two, if you're looking down, finding a guy in the 7K range, and I know this is, of course, if you hit a lot of fairways, you can find success. That's how I kind of want to find like a diamond in the rough, knowing that his game should suit this course. And that's Emiliano Grillo. Emiliano Grillo at 7,300 has given you a second place here 2 of the last 3 times he's played it. He's going to find a ton of fairways. Even though he's not gaining a ton of strokes, he has been gaining strokes ball striking pretty consistently over the last month or so. So he's gaining strokes in better fields. Is going to be a weaker field. If he finds a hot putter this week, I think he can get another really good result from Grillo.
Yeah, Grillo is a top 25 safety play in my model this week. Trending off the tee. I think there's a lot to like about him in a contest like this when we're just trying to get 6 of 6 through. And I mean, if you just look at safety numbers from the first, 10 picks that have been made, I think every single person's inside the top 25 when it comes to safety. So it's an interesting strategy. I feel like everybody's deploying right now where, Joel and Kenny are exactly at the same price point of what's remaining at $7,533. And then we have Turtle and Kyle that are separated by $75 between them. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to remain true with everything that's going on right now. We'll see if Turtle with this next pick ends up putting himself closer to Joel or adds more money to the mix. But where are we going with this next selection, Turtle?
Yeah, so I was stuck last time between using some spend either between Gotterup and Mitchell. So Gotterup's off the board. I'm going to roll with Keith Mitchell here, who was a hell of a time to watch at the U.S. Open with money on him.
Yeah, that was Keith Mitchell has really, for all the volatility that we talk about with Mitchell of going from first round leader and then all of a sudden missing cuts, the last 3 weeks, you talk about the U.S. Open where he shoots 70 all 4 rounds, and then 2 top 30 finishes over the last 3 events. So I think there's a lot to like about Mitchell inside of the top 10 of my model once again. So, I think you guys are very consistently steady there. I will cut it to you, Kenny, as I am waiting for Kyle's pick right now. If you look at what's gone off recently between Grillo and Mitchell, any thoughts on those 2 players?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Grillo this week. I'm definitely, he's definitely in my cash lineup. I am a fan of him. Like you said, he's going to hit every fairway. He's going to hit every green. That's what you sort of need at this event, correct? Mitchell, I'm never a Keith Mitchell guy, ever. So that's fine with me.
Any different take there, Joel?
I'm typically not a Keith Mitchell guy. I can understand him this week, though. I think it's just a talent thing. I think you're looking at a guy who's, just better than a majority of the field, and especially because he's playing well now. And he's probably going to, from what I'm seeing, he's probably going to be much lower owned than your Gotterups and your Griffin. So if you want to look for a guy who, in a GPP who maybe can get some upside, just going to get different, I could understand that play there.
Yeah, I think it'll probably come down to the around the green stuff. If you're missing greens in regulation, you're struggling here to begin with, which is where I kind of like Keith Mitchell. But if he ends up missing greens and he's not able to salvage a score, that's probably where the problem ends up coming into play if we do see one from him. But I don't know. I like him this week. I'm not typically someone who plays Keith Mitchell either. I kind of, Joel, see quite a bit of ownership on him. I'm curious to see if that ends up remaining. So I don't know if in large field GPPs I'm as bullish on him, but I think for a contest like this, it makes logical sense. Kyle is given the next two picks. Kevin Yu at 7,300. Jacob Bridgman at 9,500. That's going to keep Kyle at $8,350. So everybody's kind of in a general vicinity right now. Turtle has put himself into the sevens there. I'll kick it right back to you, Turtle. Any interest in Kevin Yu and Jacob Bridgman, and whether or not that's the answer, I would kind of like to hear if that was a steal, but if it's not, who were you eyeing?
I like Bridgman. I was probably going to take Bridgman there. Not super spend up, but another spend up. So it's all right. It went from, a star and a scrub, not so much a star, but a pricier guy and a scrub to probably two more average picks here coming up.
Where are you going to go with that pick then?
What is my average on right now? 8K. I kind of hate this, but we're gonna do it. Give me some Max Homa.
I don't.
Go ahead.
No. I'd like to hear your answer for this because Max Homa's like a never guy for me, and I also like Max Homa this week.
I think he's just getting to a price where, in my opinion, you take him. And his course history, I'm pretty sure, is pretty solid here, right?
Yeah, he's one of the safer targets that I had on the board in general.
That's kind of where I thought.
Last year.
Yeah, when you were going Grillo, I kind of thought you were going to go Homa in that price range. Joel.
I'm not on Homa this week, and it's one of those where Homa I've kind of just written off, and I don't even look at him anymore because I've just been so disappointed. Now that you're saying it and I'm looking at him, I make sense. I can see why you like it, especially in this watered down field that I would say is a pretty cheap price considering the competition. So I can see it. I don't know if I'll get there, but I can certainly see it.
I texted my girlfriend. She was at work, and I built my model, and I sent her the top 10 of my model. And the exact thing I wrote to her was, one of these things is not like the other on this list, and it was in reference to Max Homa. I can't tell you the last time. It's probably been 2.5 years since Max Homa has been anywhere near the top 30 of my model in any iteration of how it's been built. I was shocked to see that return because I kind of shared a similar sentiment to you, Joel. Like, before actually looking into it, I don't want anything to do with him ever. And then I dove into some of the numbers. It's like, okay, he's actually playing a little bit better than what the public perception is around him. He's gotten up to about 11% ownership right now, which would place him 17th overall. So it's going to be outside of the top 15 there. It's not the Doug Gim answer for me where it's like, I always play Homa and it never works. I never play Homa. So I don't know, Turtle, in this situation, what this means for anything. We have no point of reference of this ever occurring of me playing Max Homa in a lineup. So hopefully it works out for you on that. But all right, Joel.
I'll add to that quickly. The one other, I think, issue with Homa, though, is he's like popular. People like him. He's like a name that people respect. So I think he's always going to carry a little higher ownership because he's just a casual guy people like than he should. It's like if it was Homa and he was coming in at like 5%, I would probably be more into it. But the fact that you're going to have to go to like 11, which is probably a little higher than he should be, is another reason why I probably won't get there.
Question for you before you make the pick. What do you think he should be priced at then?
That's a good question. I actually think the price is fair. I actually think he probably could be priced a little higher because of just how weak the field is, not necessarily because he's playing great, just because you got guys up there priced ahead of him that are making their first ever PGA Tour event start right with their card, and they're priced at 9,400 or whatever it is. So obviously, these guys are favored over him as well. I mean, I don't know. Anywhere between the mid 7s and low 8s, I think would have been the right price.
When you make your next selection here, I'm going to come back to this topic in a second because I'm curious where Max Homa is in the market in head-to-heads. I think that might be indicative. So I'll let you make the pick here, Joel, and then after the selection, we'll get into a little bit more of that Max Homa discussion.
So with my next pick here, I'm going with my guy. a guy who I haven't taken on this show in a while, but it's time to get back in the Andrew Novak groove. Andrew Novak is a guy I love. More recently, I haven't been playing him. Novak is a guy that plays better on easier tracks. I don't want to play Novak at the U.S. Open. I don't want to play Novak at the Memorial. But here, a Birdie Fest at the John Deere, I think that's where Novak finds himself. In 2024, the last time he played this event, he gave you a top 10. If you look closely, he gained strokes, ball striking at the Travelers last week. He didn't make many putts. I think if he finds a putter this week, I think you get another top 20, really good result at only 7,400.
I noticed Sharp Markets liked him. If I sort this by the biggest movers in the market, when you look at some of these sharper books as an outright, the biggest mover would be Tom Kim, which is Kenny's pick. He's moved almost 22%. Second would be Blades Brown. You got to go a little bit further down the list. You're probably, I'm eyeballing this, probably 10th, give or take. Andrew Novak is the 10th sharpest mover that you have on the board. Keith Mitchell's a little bit above that. Emiliano Grillo's on that list. It's a lot of names that have been chosen. I think it's interesting for your pick, Joel, because play your hits and play your guys. That's what I did last week with Siwoo Kim, and I ended up regretting it. I wish you a little bit better luck than what I ended up having with it, but this is your guy. This is somebody that I feel like when this show was a weekly thing with us drafting with the audience and just a singular guest, I think you had him 100% of weeks for about a 30-week stretch there.
No, I love Andrew Novak. I do. And I've gotten better at picking when to play him and when to fade him. And so I think this is this bounce back spot where, he makes more sense. And at only 7,400, like when you want to ask, what should he be priced? Novak, I'd be more confident. I thought he should have been in the 8K range in this field. So I think you're getting a discount on him here.
I'll run the numbers to see where the sharp markets have him. I think they have him probably $1,000 more expensive would be my guess as what the fair price is if you take the direct comparison between his movement and his odds compared to the board and put it into a DFS price. So I think you're probably correct on that based on that answer. So Joel, you have 7,600. We move to Kenny now, $7,533 left for 3 picks. You started with Ben Griffin, Tom Kim second, Denny McCarthy third. You got 2 picks right now. Where are you going with these next 2?
We're going Johnny Kiefer, 7,400 next. And then I also am going to take Carson Young at 7,200. So when it comes to Kiefer, his ball striking has been basically elite for the last 2 months. He's made 6 straight cuts in a row in events with the cut. The ball striking's there. It's mostly distance for him, but he's still in the top half of the field in driving accuracy. You expect him to club down here more than likely just to make sure he hits these fairways because it's going to be that important. I like Kiefer a lot. Carson Young is coming off a really good stretch on the Korn Ferry Tour the last probably about 6 weeks with a bunch of top 20 finishes. Last week, he came in, shot, I think, 28, 29 on a 9 on the Korn Ferry Tour. It might even have been 27. I don't know. It was some crazy-ass score. A low score that he had on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. He's playing good golf. He's coming here. If I'm not mistaken, he's had a couple of top 5s here in the past. Give me Carson Young as my 5th pick.
Yep, back-to-back top 5 finishes for him over the last 2 years. 5th place exactly in that position. Either one of those 2 picks for you, Joel, as we move it along to you, were either Kiefer or Young on your radar?
Kiefer's a guy we're looking hard at. I like Kiefer. I mean, Kenny said the ball strikking's been there. He needs to make some putts this week, and I think that's the concern is if he can't find a putter, then I don't think he can get you a top 20, but it's not the hardest greens to putt on. I think he can find a putter this week, and if he does at 7,400, he's another guy in the 7K range that could be a really strong value.
Yeah, it's like one of the ways I described the greens when I looked at it. I don't know how predictive they actually are. I think there's certain things that we can look at of how people putt on easy greens, and I think that might be one of the biggest corollaries that you can find. Kiefer specifically, you talk about a bad putter. If you do want to look for any sort of an upside with it, his best putting return that you have in my model is on easy putting surfaces. And if he can even be average middle of the pack, that's kind of right up my alley. I come on here every single week and I talk about Siwoo Kim, and Siwoo Kim never makes a putt. So I think like the Johnny Kiefer thing is kind of right in that same sort of a thought process with it. But yeah, I had him inside the top 30 in my model. I see 7.88% ownership right now, which places him 30th overall. So, I mean, you kind of have a guy across the board that seems to be a value there. But you like Kiefer a little bit. Didn't necessarily sound like as much on Young there, Joel. Where do you want to go with your next pick?
So I was really torn between two here, but I am going to stick to my original gut. Another guy who I like, who has cooled off a bit recently, but I think this is a good spot for him. That's Sudarshan Yelamaraju. I think he's a guy that really good ball striker. You know, if you look at the recent form, he lost a lot of strokes on approach at the U.S. Open, but that's the U.S. Open. So you give him a pass for that. He was great at the Canadian Open. He struggled a little bit ball striking before that, but if you look at those tournaments, Memorial's really tough. The Charles Schwab, not so much. The PGA Championship, really tough. So I kind of want to give him a pass. I think you bring him on an easier course where we know he can be very accurate with his driver. It should be to his advantage. And he can spike. So I think he's more of an upside pick. He's certainly not safe, but I think for upside, I like him. My other guy would have been a guy I was contemplating was Michael Kim. He's probably the safer pick of the two, but I'm going for gold here. I'm going for the win. So Yelamaraju it is.
Turtle's over in my Discord chat, and I think Turtle can attest to this. There was a time period there where I played him every single week, it felt like. I've backed off of that the last handful of events. You talked about the volatility. The volatility that you see from him is insane. And one of the things I've noticed, Joel, is if he gets himself to the weekend and to Sunday, maybe this is something that somebody can use for either showdown if he's in contention or as a matchup. He goes nuclear in a positive way on Sunday over and over and over again, where he kind of skyrockets himself up the leaderboard. That's one of the ways I have continued to play him. He always scares me ever so slightly, but look, I can't talk about like taking upside picks. I took Sepp Straka last week, who was 50th in my model for safety. This is not the same safety rating on Yelamaraju here. Like, this is still a golfer for me. He falls from 28th to 40th. Like, it's a very small difference. I think the ball striking that you talked about made sense. So I wish you luck on him. It's somebody that I've kind of put on my blacklist for the time being, but my model likes him, and that's maybe more important than whatever my take is of like my personal bias against him, Joel.
So I guess to clarify, you would have taken Michael Kim instead in that spot?
Not necessarily. I like the pick. I just think that it's very volatile, but I also think that when you look at your lineup specifically, I think you have safety with Novak, safety with Grillo. I mean, Koivu is in his first event, but I'm going to say safety with him. And I actually think Gotterup's profile for whatever this is safer than the general public assumes it to be. Like, these are all top 25 names for me when it comes to safety. I think you can afford a little bit more of a boom or bust pick. And I assume when I run numbers for this, I'll be curious and I'll write about it tomorrow. I think my model will really like that selection because of the main reason. It's going to like what Kenny's doing. It's going to like what Turtle's doing. And it's going to like what Kyle's doing. So I assume it's going to think that you need a little bit more volatility to your lineup. I think that's what Yelamaraju brings you. So I like the pick for whatever that's worth. I just think that it's a very boom or bust play.
Fair enough.
Turtle, come to you now. Blades Brown, Doug Gim, Keith Mitchell, Max Homa. You have 8,200 left. Joel's the first person that really put himself in a different range. Everybody has $8,000 right now. What are you going to do with your next selection?
Yeah, I liked Yellow there. I'm glad you took him so I didn't have to attempt to pronounce his name. To your point, though, I think I took him on a Sunday for like a top 5 when he was in like 30th, and he made one of those big moves. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Who am I taking? Sorry, I'm trying to do some quick math. I know who I want, but then it's going to leave me too much money on the board.
As you think about this, I'll give you a second. I'll cut this to you, Kenny. You take a tournament like this. What do you think is too much money to actually leave on the board?
There is no such thing. Not in an event like this.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no such thing as leaving too much money. If you want to leave as much money as you can, the field is weak, it's volatile. Once you get past Poston, maybe. I mean, everything is just wild out there. So it's a wild west. Anything can happen. You can see guys in the 6K come in. This year, I've actually been eliminating the 6K range a lot of the time from my player pool, and it's helped me a lot. It's just too much volatility and not enough upside in that 6K range for me. I've basically eliminated that. I might do one or two every other week because my player pool is so small nowadays. So personally, um, I forget where the question was going. Help me out here, Spencer.
I was just asking what's too much money to leave on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't, in this event, because of the event, because of the weak field, I mean, you could go down to the 6K, you could find people, you could leave a bunch on the table. I don't think there's a number.
Kenny,
You
I
can
have a
go as low as
question
you
for
want.
you. I generally agree with you. I think that the 6K range is too volatile. I try to avoid it as much as possible. But the problem with that is the way they've been pricing Scotty, you really just can't play Scotty because if he's 13.5 or 14K, it's hard to build a lineup if they don't go into the 6K range. So are you just not playing Scotty much this year as well?
I have not. I have not. I played him last week for the first time in a while.
Yep, that makes sense. That adds up. Yeah. So that's how you got to do it. And then, you know what? If you actually think about it, Scotty's not playing as well this year as he was last year. He shouldn't be in the 13. He should actually have him back at like 11K, 11.5. Like that's where he's playing. He is not winning every week like he did last year. So because of that, I agree. I think Scotty's just not as good to dive down there to take a shot on some of those guys.
I thought, and I said it on air last week. I know Kenny won the group. I thought there was a lot of volatility with his lineup with Scotty. Like, yes, he had the highest ceiling, but it kind of goes to your point, Joel. It's not the U.S. Open to where I played Scotty in 100% of lineups at the U.S. Open because I was able to pair him with Aaron Rye, and I understand like Maverick McNeely went south on Saturday and Sunday, but you were getting a quality of player that I believe to be a top 20 golfer in the world in the $6,000 range on both of those two names. It's very simple to build. And I had a lot of Siwoo Kim. I mean, I've said his name 300 times this week and he's not even in the tournament. Like this is kind of like the sickness that I seem to have with him, but it is much more difficult in a lot of these contests. And I think when you specifically have a cut. So I would generally agree with that. I will go to Turtle here for his pick. I do want to get back to you, Joel, after that, though. I would like to hear your answer after Turtle gives us a selection of what is too much money to leave on the table. But we'll go to you first, Turtle.
No, it's good. Kenny, you sold me. I'm going to go with AJ Ewart here. And then, I mean, form's been good recently. He's hitting consecutive cuts. I will have no idea who I'm going to take next, so hopefully Kyle makes it a little easier for me here.
Before I get to your question, I was going to ask Joel. I believe, Kenny, that's somebody that Byron is on this week. Am I mistaken on that?
He's big on AJ. Yep. He was on my list. I was thinking either him or Carson Young. I went with my gut instead of Byron's. But yes, Byron is big on AJ this week.
I'm waiting for Kyle's response still, so I'll kick it back to you, Joel. Do you think there is a number that is too much to leave on the table?
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar. Like, I definitely think you can leave a lot of money on the table. There's no reason to have to force it and spend all your money. But yeah, there is too much. I mean, at some point, like I don't think you should play a lineup without one of the top 8 guys in it. So like, or 6 guys. So if you're gonna try and leave like 3K or 4K because you can, I don't think that's probably the move. I think you want to get one of the top dogs at least in there. But I think if you're leaving 1,000 or 2,000 out there, I think that's totally fine, especially if you're playing more popular players. So to get your lineup more unique, which is leaving Sally on the table, that's another alternative way to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think most people, probably for whatever it's worth, are playing 4,000-6,000 golfers and fitting in 2 8K guys and leaving an egregious amount of money. I think most people go to the top, they play their top names that they want, and to Kenny's point, it's kind of the Wild West once you get past a certain part of the board. He mentioned JT Poston potentially being one of the last guys. That's who Kyle took at 9,300. He closed it off with Seamus Power at 7,200. And I'll kick it right back to you, Turtle, on that. Any interest on Poston and Power this week? And where do you want to go with your next pick?
Yeah, so it was actually going to be between Poston here or who I'm going to end up with on Cootie, Pearson Cootie. Kind of just looking for his upside here. I feel like this lineup that I've put together is very hit or miss. Between Keith Mitchell and Homa, I'm a little worried. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Cootie has that same volatility. I ended up adding an outright today on Pearson Cootie. I really like the upside that he presents. I would make the argument, and I'll ask you this question, Joel, as I give this response. I think most people, like Pearson Cootie started this year as, I would say, one of the hottest names that everybody wanted to back throughout the entire year. And we've kind of seen that go sideways here recently. He's going to be sub 10% this week. And yeah, there's a miscut at the Memorial, which is not great in a tournament like that where it's a limited field to begin with. Miscut at the PGA. But if you ignore that result, I understand there's not a top end finish that we actually have there. There's nothing better than a 16th at the RBC Heritage, which I will say is a club down course, which is kind of fringy to what you can get here in spots. But 16th there, 24th at the Truist, 19th at the CJ Cup, which is a birdie fest, 22nd at the Charles Schwab, 23rd at the US Open. Like, the form is a little bit better, in my opinion, than what the general public seems to believe. Do you agree with that sentiment? Is he anywhere near your player pool, or is this somebody that you're just avoiding for the time being?
Me?
Yes.
It's kind of a similar answer I gave earlier to Doug Gim. Like, I like him. I can certainly get behind why someone would play him, but just the way I prefer to build rosters, like I'm trying to go higher to the top with scars and scrubs. So it just is an awkward build for how I'm building rosters to fit him in at 8,800. So for me, it's more of a price issue than a player issue.
Yeah, I think Turtle's lineup has a really high chance to come first, and he kind of talked about some of the volatility that enters the mix. I like all four lineups on this, so I mean, I almost think that the way he built, in my opinion, is a really good strategy on this, even though we're talking about a virtual cash game where you only have to beat two people. I think that there's three really safe lineups for the most part. And I think his lineup is more of the outlier here, where this is like swinging for the fence. This is taking shots in spots. And if it works and the pieces hit, this lineup has a really high ceiling for it. Whether it's better for a GPP lineup, I guess we'll see. But I like the lineup a lot. That's also coming from somebody that likes to build very aggressively when it comes to any situation. So, Joel, we're to you now. Last pick that you have here. You have 7,300 left on the board. I'm a little disappointed, if I have to be honest. I was expecting completely stars and scrubs with this, where we were going to be down in the $6,000 section. It doesn't look, unless you leave a lot of money on the table, like we're going to get into that range. So I assume it's a low $7,000 golfer that you're going to give us here, but let us know where you're going to round this off.
So I will start by saying this is my version of stars and scrubs, for the reason that I'm similar to what Kenny said. I have a similar motto. I'm trying to avoid the 6K range as much as possible. Like, I don't want to dip down on guys that are just complete darts. Like, I go through these guys that I'm drafting here in the 7K range are guys that I flagged until this pick. This pick I'm kind of forced into. He wasn't a guy that I had flagged prior, but all the other three were guys that were in my player pool, guys that I had flagged, guys I want to play. So I'm trying to do it that way, where I'm not just dipping down just to make a lineup work. I'm only playing guys that I like, that I'm interested in for this tournament. Now we're having a draft here. Things didn't all break my way, so I am going to take Ben Coles here. Not a guy who I was originally high on. Had 7,300 to spend. I am spending all my money. I think he makes sense for this course. He's going to find a lot of fairways. The ball striking has been excellent. The big question mark is, can he make some putts here? If he makes putts, I think he can get another really good result. He hasn't had a great finish here in the past, but I think he's playing some of his best golf right now. And in a watered-down field at only 7,300, I'll take the ball striking with Ben Coles.
Do you agree with that, Kenny?
I'm a fan of Ben Coles this week. I'm definitely going to play him. I mean, he's definitely in my GPP pool. We talked about him on the show. You're right. I mean, his iron game and his ball striking has been exceptional. He hits every fairway that you can ask for. I like to play a lot.
Yeah, my model, he's going to be popular. It's not going to be as big of a problem in a contest like this. That would be my only concern in large field GPPs. But I think for a contest like this, like you talked about it, Joel, he doesn't necessarily have a high-end finish here, but 2 made cuts in a row. If he gets you a made weekend and can make a couple putts, 2 top 30s at the RBC Canadian, and then a 23rd the week after that. So I kind of agree with everything that's been said. I think there's a lot to like about him. Kenny, you have $8,000 on the board. Ben Griffin's where you started, Tom Kim, Denny McCarthy, John Kiefer, Carson Young. Where are you going to round us off with this last pick?
It's between the two South Africans, Potgieter and Bezuidenhout. I'm going to take the better iron player that's been playing better. I'm going to go Bezuidenhout as my final guy. Again, the iron game has been strong. He makes a ton of cuts. I'm a fan of his this week, so let me get a little Bezuidenhout out there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I'll kick it over to you, Joel, and we can wrap this up in normal fashion. I mean, first of all, I appreciate everybody who tuned into this show. This is a very exciting contest that we have going on, and I once again want to say thank you to LEVR for the sponsorship of this. This is something that I don't know if we want to announce it yet. I don't know if we want to let Turtle announce it. I don't know. We haven't necessarily gotten into the specifics of it. You kind of hinted last week of what we plan to do. I'll leave it up to you. I'll leave it up to Turtle if we want to make an announcement of what exactly is going on with it and what that looks like. But I'll kick it over to you, Joel.
Well, I'll leave it up to Turtle. That's Turtle's call. Turtle is the man who helped make this happen, so we appreciate you, Turtle. It's a great partnership. LEVR, as you kind of explained before, it's a really great, slick-looking site. It's a lot of fun. Definitely get in there and check it out. Do us a favor, smash the like button and give us a follow. It goes a long way. And as a quick PSA, we've heard some folks say, hey, we didn't know you guys were back up. We've been looking for the show. We just found it. If you're looking now, if you know other folks that enjoyed our show that maybe are having a hard time finding it, let them know. We're back Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, where you're doing this draft tournament. It has been a lot of fun, but it only works and it's only successful because we get the best guests in this space that come on and draft with us. Thank you so much to Turtle, to Kenny, to Kyle for helping us, to getting on doing the draft with us, making this as much fun as it has been. And everyone watching right now, get in there. Let us know which lineup you think is going to win as we do every week. We will crown a winner, 2 winners at the end of the week to advance to the next round. And next week, we'll have another round. Before we get you guys out of here, give us your best bet, your favorite bet of the week, and where everybody can find you. Kenny, we'll start with you.
Okay, best bet of the week. I like Doug Gim this week. I like Doug Gim 35-1 with 8 places. That's the bet that I took. I'm only an outright and each way guy. I don't do props. So it's going to be one of the outrights that I got. I think I got like 8 of them, but I think 4 of them are 66-1 or above. 3 of them are 100-1 or above. So I like him, and I like Ben Griffin a lot. I bet Ben 22-1 with 3 places. He won the last time I bet him in the fall when he was a favorite. I feel like this is sort of a similar situation, except he hasn't been playing as well for an extended amount of time, but the game seems like it's trending upwards for him. I like Ben a lot. So those are two of my favorites.
What book did you get Ben at 22-1?
I got him with 3 places on Bet365. If you do a 3 place each way, you end up getting. I think the original number is 15-1. It gives you a little boost when you do the 3 places each way.
Got it. I love it. All right. TurtleBear, where can we find you? And what do you want to share, if anything, about the sponsorship that you guys gave to us?
Maybe we'll talk about that this week. I know I gave you a number, but I know there was going to be a physical prize as well. So not sure where that's going to end up. But yeah, no, pumped to do it. On it, like getting the invite initially was awesome, and then seeing that there was an opportunity to get a little more involved. Super pumped to do it and happy to do it. I hope this thing grows, and I hope it's something we can keep doing years to come here. As far as I'm really an outrights guy. I used to play a ton of DFS, less so much really now with golf, but this is actually a week I'm kind of excited for. I'll probably hop in, make some lineups. I feel like it's a super open field. I outright this week, I'm pretty big on Blades Brown. I love more value type of plays, which so far this year has not worked out. But yeah, Blades Brown is my guy this week, I think.
Blades Brown. I like it. I think, and you know what I like about Blades Brown? he's not. I mean, he's being talked about, but not as much as some other guys that are just getting a lot more attention online. It feels like it takes that for someone like Blaze Brown to kind of come out of nowhere and rise and be the guy that shows up. So I like that call as well. I know he's not here. Did you get any final words from Kyle?
If he's still listening and he tweets on in, I will let you know. I will give you mine though, Joel. And before I give that answer, because I will say this, like we talked about it at the beginning part of the show, that I'm a casualty that can now not win this. And we didn't even get far enough. I didn't last long enough in the contest to actually make any of these announcements. We announced that we had a sponsorship with LEVR. I was gone the very next week. I was going to give all the money away if I won. We're going to do a giveaway of some kind and have some sort of a community giveaway. I'll tell you what hurts me though with this is we're going to have a physical prize, and I have room up there. Like I'm still waiting for trophies from the FSG or FSWA. I'm hoping at some point I can get the Golf Writer of the Year and we can put it there. I was hoping to have a trophy up there to be king of the draft and kind of make that mantle be exactly what I wanted it to be. It's not going to be this year. It's going to be something that I'm going to be fighting for the next couple of years. So we're really excited to announce all of that. And that's hopefully something when Turtle and I talk, and we'll get you involved with it, Joel, and we'll iron everything out, and we'll have much more of a final announcement with it going into next week. When I talk about my favorite bets, though, I would say it's the two plays that Kenny and Turtle just talked about. I think for Blades Brown, I liked him against Eldrick Potgeider. I got him at plus 100. That number has moved. It's more like minus 115 right now. I still think there's a little bit of value there. I think Potgeider is very boom or bust. I understand the upside for him. I just think that Blades Brown's a little bit under-respected or disrespected because of Jackson Coyven being in this. And then I also bet Doug Gim in a matchup against Michael Brennan at minus 118. So those are probably my two favorite plays on the board right now when it comes to matchups.
And I like those. I'll give mine. I'm going to give one. It's the top 20. It's the favorite on the board, but I think it's a really good bet. Give me Ben Griffin, top 20 at minus 130. The way he's playing, a top 20 in this field seems like something he should be able to do. I would expect it to. So that's a play I like a lot. I'll have a pretty significant wager on that play this week as well. That's a wrap for tonight. Super fun draft. We appreciate you guys. We had great guests on this week. Come check it out. Follow along. Let us know who you think's going to win. Spencer will give the score updates throughout the week as he always does. We will crown a winner, and then we will advance to next week where we do another 4-man draft. I wish everyone the best of luck. And Spence, did I forget anything?
One thing for everybody listening, because we haven't really talked about this a ton. The audience has a team, and the audience will be in play next week. So I know there's a lot of people that have not gotten around. Like, please jump into the YouTube chat. We will be taking picks next week from everybody in the audience. Hopefully we can see you guys back there and get our usual crew. I know Joel talked about how hard it's been to get everybody back in one place again as we've started this. And like streaming on Twitter and on X is great, but I at least don't know if we have the ability to pull in comments from there. I could be wrong. I never see comments land there, and maybe I'm looking in the wrong area if we are, but please jump over to YouTube next week. Watch the video. You guys will be taking on a really great group, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as it gets closer, but the audience will be back in action. You guys will have a team, and I hope to see all our usual suspects that we used to get every single week. And
Team Audience was hot this year before we kind of paused the show, so Team Audience should be one of the favorites to take this thing down. Thanks again, both of you. Thanks again, Spence. Wish you all the best of luck. Have a great 4th of July, 250 years, and the best event going.